AgriProFocus APF is a Dutch partnership promoting farmer entrepreneurship in developing countries. The AgriProFocus network members are organizations and companies that gather, train, connect, and provide inputs and credit to farmer entrepreneurs and to producer organizations. APF activities at a national level are conducted under AgriHubs and is present in 11 African countries. APF organizes its activities under 5 thematic areas that include organized farmer for business, access to markets, access to finance, sustainable food production and food security, and gender equity in agriculture. The mission of APF Uganda is to bring together the different actors in the Ugandan agriculture sector to promote a joint agenda on farmer entrepreneurship and food security, thus boosting the agriculture sector. One of the key initiatives under the Organized Farmers for Business thematic area is the strengthening of relationships between value chain actors. Under a partnership between APF and Wageningen University, a tool that promotes a farm-farm relationship has been developed and tested over a 3-month period. The Two to Tango tool is a highly participatory assessment tool that helps to harness views of farmers and farms on their business relation based on the same set of statements. The process comprises several activities that can be broken down into 4 major steps. The first step is the business case analysis, which involves visiting and holding interviews with the farm and farmers so as to identify the key challenge areas. This process is supported with the use of question guides. The second step is the identification and preparation of statements based on the business case analysis. The key output at this stage is a well-designed questionnaire. The third step involves a number of key processes. Firstly, the conducting of assessments from the farm and the farmer. Hence, both the farm and the farmer score the same questionnaire on a basis of agree, strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. One-on-one interviews are recommended at this step. Following the data capture is the data analysis, which is done through a simple Excel-based file. Typical results are captured in one of 4 ways. In the first one, farmers and farm agree on a score which reflects a strength in the farm-farm relationship. In the second, farmers and farm agree on a low score which implies joint action needed to address a burning issue. The third scenario is where farmers score much higher than the farm, meaning that they are much more positive about the issue than the farm. The fourth situation is where the farm scores much higher than the farmers, again meaning that the farm is more positive about the issue than the farmer. It is clear that in cases 2, 3, and 4, dialogue is needed. The fourth step is the debriefing exercise. Here, feedback is presented to both the farm and the farmers at the same meeting. The ensuing dialogue should result into joint initiatives and follow-up actions that strengthen the farm-farm relationships. As debrief tools, the graphs are powerful feedback tools as they clearly articulate the levels of agreement or disagreement and common issues, hence generating strong dialogue. In Uganda, 7 APF member farms volunteer to participate. They are Sulma Foods Limited, Agency for Accelerated Regional Development, AFAD, Farm Support Limited, Kwaseda Enterprises Limited, Badifa, Star Cafe, and Africa 2000 Network. In the 7th case of Farm Support Limited, the tool was executed in-house by company staff to provide different perspective on how the process can be done.
The tool strengthens the farm-farm relationships from the perspective that it provides an opportunity for clear and open and candid dialogue, which is a thing I think that is not existing very much right now. Of course, there is dialogue between value chain actors. So the farmers will always talk to the people that buy from them, who we're describing as the farms in this case. But what this tool does is that it is getting the two parties to provide their perceptions on a similar set of issues. And by comparing these responses, you kind of get to see where they are agreeing, and that means it's a good thing, or where they are disagreeing, and maybe then that's an area for action.
The process has been useful because if you look at the report, it is properly showing the weak areas of the company as Suluma Foods, and then it is also showing the weak side of the farmers. And on the other side, it is also showing the strong points where we have to emphasize, and then also on the side of farmers where they also have to emphasize.
Well, I think that the relevance is clear because there is a new trend to develop more inclusive business-to-business relationship, especially with small, medium, or big firms and farmers as a way to link them to market. There is a lot of assumptions that are made on this new trend, that farmers are automatically willing to connect with the firm, that the firm just have to propose a good price and that's it. But we know that it's more complex than that, so this tool can certainly help to understand better what convinces a firm to work with small farmers and what will convince the small farmers to work with the specific firms. So what are in stake in this kind of relationship. So it is good timing. A lot of people are reflecting on it. Some practice did help us to draw some lessons. There is good examples, but there is also bad examples on firm-farms relationship. So maybe this tool can help to clarify some issues. Yeah.
In my own observation, it will work. Based on how it is summarized, you can easily interpret it and see there's a big gap here. I have to handle this immediately. So since all those areas are stipulated and it is very easy to interpret, farmers can even understand it, I think it's a very good idea. And in fact, I'm very grateful because we have done research with very many individuals, organizations, but feedback has been a problem. So where there is that feedback, it is very possible for me to go and see, it's very possible for me to go to the farmers and tell them the challenge is here and there, let's sit down and get a solution. So that idea of bringing feedback is very okay.
You see, we've also interacted with them. They have given their inputs. They have agreed and somewhere else disagreed. So finally we come up with a clear information from the farmers. It removes bias, first of all, because obviously in any relationship there is a party that has the higher bargaining power. Maybe say the farm would always have the higher bargaining power. In this case, both actors are on the same playing field, giving their perceptions on the same issue. But I think it is also, based on what we've seen, it's also a tool that is generating fantastic raw data, raw insight. So we're not actually coming up with recommendations based on tried and tested solutions, but we're coming up with unique, specific solutions.
It's just a snapshot of the relationship and confronting the two perceptions of the farmers and the firm. How this will be used by both parties to strengthen or not, this is still not clear. People express their perceptions, but now what to do with it? What's the next step? Should people discuss about it? Who should lead the discussion? Who should facilitate this discussion? What for which objective? I think the tool is not, the way the tool is designed and promoted is still not clear on what are the next steps.
The data capture focuses greatly on just perceptions. It actually focuses on collecting perception. But I think we missed the opportunity to go deeper and actually deal
with the why. Why do farmers think this way? Why do farmers agree with this statement? So when we come up with the report, we are actually presenting a report detailed with perceptions, and it lacks the depth that would come with the insights that would have been generated with the why questions. And I think that is a key thing that comes out also from the feedback, because when you're giving the feedback, we're saying, this is what you said, this is what you said, and we're not so much saying, and these are some of the reasons why you were saying what you were saying, so that you can then create an environment for constructive dialogue. So the tool right now is a bit complicated. We also find that rather the tool is too detailed, but we're also finding, secondly, that the tool is a bit complicated again to execute. Generating these statements that would constitute the questionnaire is not as easy as it seems. And if it is being done by the stakeholders themselves, as is the case in the 7th study that we're doing, we found that it was rather tedious, and we found that the statements that were being generated were not of the kind of quality that we were looking for.
The tool can only propose assumption on the way they analyze the results. Cannot diagnose the real issues. It can attract attention to some particular elements of this relationship, either comfort perceptions when the perceptions are aligned, either helps to attract the attention of the both parties and say, oh, perceptions are really different here, you should talk about it. But the tool itself is not an analytical tool fine enough to identify or to diagnose the real root cause of an issue.
When we use third parties to do this work, we have found that they may be experienced researchers, but they may not necessarily be knowledgeable about the issue. So we found, especially when we were giving feedback, that some of their responses were being misunderstood, some of the data was being captured incorrectly, and so on.
The only challenge was the language. Yeah, she didn't understand the local language, and what we did was to get someone to translate for her.
I think the lessons is now to connect this tool to decision-making process within the firm and within the farmers' groups. So there is probably a complement to add on how farmers should use the tool for their own dialogue within their own organizations and members, and how the firms itself also should use it into internal kind of review with staffs on what's next. And then get the two parties together and help them on how to use this tool to focus on specific issues that have to be resolved.
I would say that there are a number of lessons. The first is that we need to be clear on the output. Okay, we have seen that by coming out with these detailed reports, they are not practical when it comes to the stakeholders, the actual recipients of this information, the farmers and the farms. We've seen that it's difficult for them to read these reports. So we need to determine what is the best mode of reporting the outputs of this study.
One thing I've seen, now we've talked to the farmers, you've seen them, at least they were happy. They were confident, so this thing builds confidence, it gives up farmers bargaining power, and it also gives them respect. They really feel at home, and they see their views and information are being valued, and it's all what they want. So if
there is still a lot of discussion that have to happen. He should propose more assumptions, so maybe a guide on how to interpret the result of the tool should be developed further.
We need to make it very simple. Okay? We found that there were very many errors. So we went to Mbadifa, for instance, and presented the outputs, what was coming out of this study, directly to the farmers and the farm. And I could say over 60% of the time they were disputing the results. So that tells me that the process was not very simple, and therefore maybe mistakes emerged. Yeah. The third thing, again, based on experience that we had, for instance, from Luero, was that you need not necessarily have a competent researcher doing this, but you need to have someone that is knowledgeable about the issue at hand, knowledgeable about the dynamics in that particular farm-farm relationship.
Yeah, the process worked out, actually. It worked out good, but it would be more excellent if maybe we would have used someone from the local communities, or probably from Badufa, who understand the language of the farmers. For example, we in Badufa, we normally use the farmer facilitators, whom we select from the local communities, who is well conversant with the people, who is well conversant with the knowledge.
It need not necessarily be someone in Ulsolma doing this study, but it could be someone that is competent in the industry of fresh fruit.
We got Godfrey from one company to do the other work of the other company. And then we also hire someone from that, we get someone from that company, so it should be done that way.
Okay.
Because me, if I moved to another company, farmers will be able to reveal whatever information they have. And if someone came here in my absence of Godfrey, farmers can also reveal and exploit whatever is there.
Those are the three things that I would focus on. One, keep it simple. Two, be clear on the output and focus it towards the recipients. Thirdly, have the right people doing this job.
It's a very, very good start, yeah. And now I think both parties can still say, okay, now so what? What should I do now? And so we should continue to accompany these two parties to discuss about it and to go further into the root cause of any issue that the tool helped to identify. So for this, it was very, very useful.
It sure takes two to tango. We are yet to see if this tool would be the perfect catalyst for stimulating the right kind of discussions between farmers and the farms and translate into value chain development.
Because everybody wants his views or information to be considered. But we should also consider the information that is important for us. That's why at least maybe you thought of it, bringing this report back, and we discuss about it. We've seen where the weaknesses has been, we've seen where the right was and the wrong, and finally we came out with a concrete information of our own. So at least we own that report, and the information, it's ours, it's from us, and we really respect you for that.